Might start the meeting. Thank you everyone for coming tonight. Can we all stand for the opening prayer and original custodian statement? Almighty God, grant to this council wisdom, understanding, sincerity of purpose for the good governance of this city. Amen. And I wish to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we stand and pay my respects to the elders past and present. Thank you. Have we got any apologies this meeting? Councillor Jelly?
Yes, Mayor, we've got an apology from Councillor Arnott. Thank you.
Thank you. Can we have a seconder for that? Councillor Koish. Can we move to accept that? All those in favour? Passed. Thank you. Declarations of conflicts of interest. Have we got any of them this evening? Councillor Ziegler?
Item 7.7, Kepler Street CBD footpath renewal.
Thank you, Councillor Ziegler. All right, moving on to the mayoral presentation. It's been a sad week in the last week.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Confirmation minutes.
Oh, sorry. Can we move to accept the minutes of the last meeting? Councillor Taylor, thank you.
I would like to move a motion that the minutes of the scheduled meeting of council held on the 6th of November 2023 be confirmed.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Can we have a seconder? Councillor Paspaliaris, thank you. Councillor Taylor, do you wish to speak?
No, thank you, Matt.
Does anyone else wish to speak? No. All those in favour? Passed unanimously. Thank you. Now we'll move on to the mayoral presentation. Thank you, Councillor Paspaliaris. It's been a sad week the last week with Jack Daffy passing away last Tuesday. Being on council between 1968 and 1984, mayor for 3 years during that time, and then returning for another 2 stints as well. Stalwart of the community and faithful member of St Joseph community, who'll be sorely missed for all the work and his impact that he had on the community. Also, the last weekend was a really big weekend for Warrnambool with the rodeo on Saturday night, which was really well attended and really exciting, and the big meet for the Jericho Cup on Sunday as well, which was great for everyone, and it was great to see so many out and about in the sun, even though I couldn't go to either because I had COVID. And I'd also like to thank everyone for coming to the Mayor's Breakfast. It was a really good turnout, and it was really great to hear from so many businesses and just see, where Warrnambool was at. So thank you to everyone, and hopefully you can all make it again next year. And because this will be our last meeting of the year, I'd just like to wish everyone a safe and happy Christmas and a safe and happy New Year. And after this meeting, we'll see everyone in February. So thank you very much. Mr. Mason, do we have any questions for public question time?
Through you, Mayor, we've had no questions submitted for tonight's meeting.
Thank you very much. Now we'll move on to the report section of the meeting, page 5. First item, 7.1, report from the deliberative engagement on construction of a West Warrnambool neighbourhood house at Pecton Avenue Park. Thank you, Mr. Mason.
Mayor, this has been a long-running issue that's gone through a very comprehensive community engagement process. The recommendation before council is that you proceed with this project, endorse the construction of the neighbourhood house, and endorse the release of a tender, which is covered in the current year's budget. So the recommendation is before you.
Thank you, Mr. Mason. Can we have a mover? Councillor Jelly?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I would like to move the motion that the council accept the officer's recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Jelly. Can we have a seconder for that? Councillor Ziegler. Councillor Jelly, do you wish to speak?
Yes, I do. Thank you. The West Warrnambool Neighbourhood House, a project this council has been working through for the past 2.5, 3 years, plus a project I personally have been very interested in over that time. West Warrnambool Neighbourhood House was founded in March 2019 to support community members in the West Warrnambool area of our city. It was originally co-located at the Beamish Street Kindergarten and was to be for a period of 5 years. Due to many factors and limited space, the neighbourhood house soon realised it needed a home of its own, and in the last year or more has been utilising other facilities in a casual short-term manner without having their own space. The West Warrnambool Neighbourhood House runs numerous wonderful programs which are inclusive of all peoples and abilities and offers diverse service provision. Through COVID, the West Warrnambool Neighbourhood House was an integral part of the West Warrnambool community, with assisting with food hampers, assistance to those most in need when we were all locked away, and it was a frightening time for everyone. There's been a very well organised deliberative engagement program over the last few months run by our staff and officers here at Warrnambool City Council. The Pecton Avenue Park area offered availability of space at a proposed site for a building. There has been very well organised deliberative engagement. We heard from a wide variety of individuals, groups and residents close to Pecton Avenue Park. There were various points and concerns raised, but in high majority, the feedback was positive and in support of siting the West Warrnambool Neighbourhood House at the Pecton Park site. I would like to acknowledge the Warrnambool City Council officers and staff who conducted and led this process, the wonderful West Warrnambool Neighbourhood House Committee, and tireless volunteers who assist in the programs and supportive care to this community. And that's why I will be putting my support wholeheartedly behind this tonight.
Thank you, Councillor Jelly. Councillor Ziegler, do you wish to speak?
Thank you, yes, Mayor. I'm supporting this because I believe that neighbourhood houses in general enrich the immediate locale as well as the entire community. It helps to reduce isolation in the local community and has many other social benefits. They've been proven to help strengthen communities wherever they've been established. And West Warrnambool's already proven that they support a community house. I just think that it's up to the council to provide them with a suitable home, and this is part of doing that. I think it's a terrific thing, and I hope it's just the next one in a string of future neighbourhood houses for Warrnambool, including Briley area and Dennington and wherever else we need one.
Thank you, Councillor Ziegler. Anyone else wish to speak? Councillor Paspaliaris.
Thank you, Mayor. I do agree with the fact that the deliberative engagement was well done and also well attended. In the focus groups that I attended, I saw that there was a majority support for a West Warrnambool Neighbourhood House. There was some controversy or some challenge around where it was located on Pecton Avenue Park. There were also two overwhelming issues repeated throughout the consultation that I observed with regards to parking and security and safety. But I would probably ask the critics, what's the alternative? Does the West Warrnambool House's services continue to be delivered in a disjointed fashion? I don't think that that's a very good ongoing solution either. With the West Warrnambool Neighbourhood House, it is obliged to deliver 25 program hours per week with an additional 25 hours per week for community-led activities, so 50 hours required per week, and this is a prerequisite to fulfil requirements for recurrent state funding. In having a house or a dedicated facility, I mean, that can only be a positive going forward. Yes, it's not perfect, but Council has considered other options and other locations, and it just didn't seem feasible. So I think that it's important to establish this West Warrnambool House in order to have a more comprehensive and single facility in order to deliver these services. So I do support this motion. I would also like to mention that this area of Warrnambool, through data collection and assessment, has been very much identified as an area of need within the city, and this is an additional reason why I would support both the establishment of the house and also in this location. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Paspaliaris. Any other councillors wish to speak? Councillor Taylor?
Thank you, Mayor Blaine. Neighbourhood houses are described as the heart of communities, and the location of the West Warrnambool Neighbour House at Pecton Avenue Park has emerged as the best possible option with multiple co-benefits which will bring the community together, provide and encourage social connections for the benefit of individuals and the community with this much-needed service. Thank you, Mayor Blaine.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Any other councillors wish to speak? Councillor Coich?
Thank you, Mayor. Neighborhood is a pride of the community, and as a social being, we need it the most for social reasons and social activities. And I think the proposal of to locate the Warrnambool West neighborhood house within the Pecton Avenue is preferable according to the survey. And as overall, yes, is a majority, and the worries of antisocial behavior and child safety is not anymore a problem or a worry. So I'm happy to endorse the construction of Warrnambool West neighborhood house at Pecton Avenue. And also I'm happy to endorse the release to a tender for construction of the fabricated modular building at Pecton Avenue through the budget allocated in Warrnambool City Council budget 2023-24. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Coich. I'd just like to add that it's been positive to see that through that deliberative engagement, there was a majority who did support the project. And as my fellow councillors have said, it's incredibly important for service delivery within West Warrnambool. One thing that I would like to see with this project, though, is this is only a temporary solution, and work needs to start soon on the next stages so that there can be a permanent solution for Warrnambool, for West Warrnambool. Consultation did bring forward some issues that will be worked through in the design phase with car parking and stuff, but this will be a real boost for the Warrnambool, the West Warrnambool community, being able to better service and look after their residents. Councillor Jelly, would you like to close?
Yes, thank you. Great positive feedback from everyone tonight. Right, neighbourhood houses bring people together, connect, learn and grow. Funding a new home for this much needed service is something this current council can be proud of. And if this is passed this evening, I look forward to the opening of this new facility by September next year. A bit earlier timeline than perhaps what is thought of, but September would be great. And I think it will be $500,000 very well spent to support many.
Thank you, Councillor Jelly. We'll put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Passed unanimously. Thank you. We'll move on to item 7.2, the policy... Thanks, Mel. We'll move on to item 7.2, the policy revocation report, page 12. Mr Mason.
Thank you. This report recommends that council revoke or cancel 5 existing policies. This report is on the back of some important work to improve and tighten up some of our governance issues, and all of the policies that have been put up for revocation are old or currently not used. So the recommendation is before you.
Thank you, Mr Mason. Do we, Councillor Ziegler?
Yes, Mayor, I'll move that the officer's recommendation be adopted.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Paspaliaris. Councillor Ziegler, would you like to? Councillor Ziegler, would you like to speak?
It's hardly necessary, but these, as the CEO has already explained, these policies are redundant and superfluous, and we no longer need them on the books.
Thank you, Councillor Ziegler. Councillor Paspaliaris.
I'd just add that, as mentioned, council's governance department's been conscientious around identifying policies that are no longer relevant or applicable. The majority of these policies are made redundant by either council not providing the specific service, or the policy is now covered under a different or more contemporary policy. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Paspaliaris. Would anyone else wish to speak? I'd just like to add that just because we're revoking these policies, especially looking at the affordable housing policy, that actually doesn't stop our advocacy efforts. All this is doing is just trying to streamline council's governance to, one, make it simpler, and two, better reflect what council's priorities and works are at this stage. Councillor Ziegler, would you like to add anything to close?
I'm just very pleased with the housekeeping capacities of the officers. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Ziegler. With everyone finished speaking, we'll put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Passed unanimously. Thank you. Move on to item 7.3, the draft public art policy, page 15. Mr. Mason.
Thank you. This is an important new policy that provides guidance for the acquisition and maintenance of public art. We know that public art can contribute to vibrancy within our town, and so the policy has been developed to provide guidance to officers in this important endeavour. The recommendation is that you adopt it, the new policy.
Thank you, Mr. Mason. Were there any questions on this one before we look for a motion? Do we have a mover? Councillor Taylor.
Thank you, Mayor Blaine. I would like to move a motion that the council adopt the Warrnambool City Council Public Art Policy 2023 as per the officer's recommendation be accepted. Thank you, Mayor Blaine.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Ziegler. Councillor Taylor, do you wish to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Mayor Blaine. This policy has been developed to guide the procurement and installation of public art, and provides guidance to council on commissioning, acquiring documents, maintaining and decommissioning of public art. By adopting this public art policy, Warrnambool City Council will improve local outcomes in community connection, tourism, public safety and general community confidence. Thank you, Mayor Blaine.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Councillor Ziegler, do you wish to speak?
Yes, thanks, Mayor. In determining this policy, council ensures that public art reflects innovation and creativity around the city, enhances the natural and the built environment. It creates some polarity. Not everybody likes a lot of the public art that's been chosen, but we allow it to be chosen in order to recognise the diversity in our community and to enhance the diversity, and basically to develop a cultural appreciation for everybody here.
Thank you, Councillor Ziegler. Does anyone else wish to speak? Councillor Jelly.
Thanks, Mayor. Yes, I think it's a good policy. It's been extremely well investigated and written by appropriately experienced officers, and covers a broad range of issues identified and appropriate resolutions for all, and will result in improved outcomes in the development and delivery of public art projects in the city.
Thank you, Councillor Jelly. Any other councillor wish to speak? Councillor Paspaliaris.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to also add that with regards to the commissioning process, there is consultation that's ensured with art professionals, so artists who have knowledge in the visual arts, and then in the event of the acquisition of First Nations works of art, there's also consultation required with Eastern Ma and other First Nations leaders. I also think that public art can be an improvement to public spaces. It provides enjoyment to the community. It can result in somewhat of an activation in a particular location as well, so it can generate interest and conversation and appreciation. And the policy just describes the principles required that guide council in making decisions about the public art. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Paspaliaris. Any other councillors wish to speak? I'd just like to add too, I think, as everyone said, these are important guidelines. There is a focus there on local artworks from local artists as well, which I think is really exciting for just our region and celebrating our artists and our people. I do think it's important too that there is a guide to how art will be commissioned, decommissioned and maintained throughout its life, because a lot of public art can be in a lot of rugged environments, and it's really important that we have the ability to be able to install, look after, but also if it is time to decommission as well. So having really clear guidelines is really important. Councillor Taylor, would you like to say anything to close?
No, thank you, Mayor Blaine.
Thank you. Well, that's everything being said. We'll put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Passed unanimously. Thank you. We'll move on to item 7.4, appointments to the advisory committees and external bodies, page 18, executive services. Mr Mason.
Thank you, and again through you, Mr Mayor. The council runs or has a number of committees where councillors are appointed to these committees on an annual basis. The committees effectively provide a variety of different functions, but generally provide an opportunity for councillors to represent the council in a number of different formats. As councillors would be aware, we have discussed this matter at an informal meeting, and the nomination of councillors to each of the committees is reflective of those general discussions, but obviously they can be changed at this meeting. The second part of the recommendation is that we, given that we close the Sale Yards Advisory Committee, given that the Sale Yards is no longer operating. So the recommendation is before you in two parts.
Thank you, Mr Mason. Any questions? Can we have a mover? Councillor Paspaliaris.
I move that we accept the officer's recommendations. Thank you.
Thank you. Can we have a seconder? Councillor Jelly. Councillor Paspaliaris.
It's very self-explanatory there, but for me, it's I see that the majority of councillors remain on or choose to remain on their existing committees, and for me, I think it's important to continue doing good work on the same committees for consistency and improvement. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Paspaliaris. Councillor Jelly.
Thank you. Yes, agree with Councillor Paspaliaris. Consistency is good to be on these. It's essential the councillors are representative on these advisory committees. The committees are usually made up of appropriate officers, community volunteers and appropriately experienced industry members, depending on what the committee is about. So really happy that we're all taking a part in one or more committee.
Thank you, Councillor Jelly. Any other councillors wish to speak? As Councillor Paspaliaris has said, there haven't been any huge changes, but there has been the addition of one external body, the Great Ocean Road Regional Tourism Board, and I wish Councillor Arnott all the best on taking up that position. And yeah, look forward to working with everyone. I'd like to say thank you as well to all of the volunteers and independent members on all of those bodies that give up their time to help advise council on what we're doing and what we're working towards, because their input is invaluable. Councillor Paspaliaris, do you wish to say anything to close? With everything being said, we'll put this motion to the vote. All those in favour? Passed unanimously. Moving on to page 20, item 7.5, planning application PP 2022-200, 12 and 14 Henty Street. Mr Mason.
Thank you, through you, Mr Mayor. This report recommends that council issue a notice of decision to issue a planning permit for five new dwellings across 2 existing residential lots. The planning application has been assessed by council's professional planning staff, who have recommended it complies with the planning scheme, and have recommended approval subject to a range of standard planning conditions. So the recommendation is before you in a typical format.
Thank you, Mr Mason. Any questions? Do we have a mover? Councillor Jelly?
Thank you. I would like to, sorry, I'm on the wrong page. I would like to move the motion that the council accept the officer's recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Jelly. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Ziegler? Thank you. Councillor Jelly, do you wish to speak?
Yes, just briefly. Yes, here we are with two existing residential blocks that now will be able to, with two dwellings on it, now will be able to accommodate 5 dwellings for 5 families or whoever will eventually move into them. I think, yes, there's, they must adhere to the agreed conditions provided by our officers when they are constructed. But I think in this time we're in with lack of housing for people, I think this is important application to support.
Thank you, Councillor Jelly. Councillor Ziegler?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. The officers have presented a comprehensive range of conditions attached to this planning permit, and I commend them for that. There has been a few objections noted from local community, but I'm sure that the officers' conditions have addressed those adequately, and I'm more than happy to second the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Ziegler. Any other councillors wish to speak? Councillor Taylor?
Thank you, Mayor Blaine. With all due consideration to the 8 objectors to this planning application, the planning case law firmly indicates that council's role is limited to specific planning concerns. The relevant grounds of objection were individually addressed, and the recommendation is shown to be appropriate according to the 8 conditions and 7 notes that are to be complied with. Thank you, Mayor Blaine.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Any other councillor wish to speak? No. Councillor Jelly, would you like to close? With no further speakers, we'll put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Councillor Taylor, Councillor Ziegler, Councillor Koish, Councillor Jelly, Councillor Blaine. For, against, Councillor Paspaliaris. The motion is carried. Moving on to 7.6, the Lake Potobe Integrated Water Management Plan, page 26. Mr Mason.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. This report outlines an investigation that's been undertaken into Lake Potobe. Lake Potobe is obviously an important space for the community. It's important environmentally, and also it provides an important system for the management of stormwater and other water flows. Working with some other key agencies, council staff have developed up been working with consultants who have developed up a draft plan which would make a series of recommendations about potential improvement opportunities. The recommendation before you today is that you release the draft Lake Potobe Integrated Water Management Plan for community consultation and feedback, and will obviously be brought back for any adoption.
Thank you, Mr Mason. Any questions? Can we have a mover? Councillor Ziegler.
Yes, Mayor, I'll move that the council receive the draft Lake Potobe Integrated Water Management Plan and approve the release of the draft plan for community consultation.
Thank you, Councillor Ziegler. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Taylor. Thank you. Councillor Ziegler, do you wish to speak?
I think that it's important to note, Mayor, that this particular water management plan is being released for community consultation. I would exhort anyone with a vital interest in the Lake Potobe area take some notice of this, pays attention, and makes comment to advise council about how this management plan should be implemented.
Thank you, councillor Ziegler. Councillor Taylor.
Thank you, Mayor Blaine. The draft Lake Patobe Integrated Water Management Plan was developed through a collaborative process involving key stakeholders discussing the significant characters of the site and outlines 8 opportunities that would improve the integrated water plan of the Lake Patobe precinct. I am therefore pleased to see the plan be released for public comment to provide the opportunity for the community and interested parties to make submissions and provide feedback on the plan. Thank you, Mayor Blaine.
Thank you, councillor Taylor. Any other councillor wish to speak? With no further speakers, councillor Ziegler, would you like to close?
I'd just like to close with the comment that Lake Patobe is a particularly well-loved precinct in Warrnambool, and we want to make sure that we look after it to the best of our ability and not to threaten it with any adverse input of stormwater and usage of waters into the lake, because we have to preserve this for generations to come. It's one of those very important things that we have to get right. And I'm more than happy to have the community consult us on this so that we do get it right.
Thank you, councillor Ziegler. With no further speakers, we'll put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Passed unanimously. Thank you. 7.7, Kepler Street CBD footpath. You've declared a conflict, councillor Ziegler. Beautiful. 7.7, Kepler Street CBD footpath renewal project and street trees, page 30. Mr Mason, take it away.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor, this report recommends that council undertake some community consultation in relation to the potential removal of some large trees in Kepler Street between Timor and Lava Street. Sorry, I've pronounced it. I realised that as I said it. The trees have been, this section of street is part of proposed upgrades. The trees are large and take up a significant proportion of the footpath, and there is considered to be some advantages in removing the trees and widening the footpath. However, we know that trees and tree removal can be potentially of significant interest to the community, and so it is recommended that we consult with the community before these works occur.
Thank you, Mr Mason. It's also Timor Street, not Timor.
Yeah, sorry.
Sorry.
Not from here.
Do we have any questions? Do we have a mover? Councillor Jelly?
Yes, Mayor, I would like to move the motion that the council accept the officer's recommendation and undertake community consultation in regard to this, this one here.
Thank you, councillor Jelly. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Paspaliaris. Councillor Jelly, do you wish to speak?
Yes, it's good to take this to community consultation. I know there already has been some community, some consultation by our officers with businesses in that area. There's been discussions there. As it currently stands, the footpaths and trees in Kepler Street are both in need of consideration due to age, repair and appropriateness in the particular CBD precinct. It's a busy area there in Kepler Street. The deteriorated footpaths, together with the consideration of some of the trees impacting the precinct with overgrown roots and appropriateness of size, need to be fully considered in regards to community pedestrian safety and the health and condition of the trees. So I think it's good to get some feedback from the community about this.
Thank you, councillor Jelly. Councillor Paspaliaris.
Thank you, Mayor. This will certainly be a contentious issue. There has already been, as Councillor Jelly pointed out, some initial consultation with business and property owners on Kepler Street, and I feel that that was probably 50-50 or quite even. But I think it's in council's and the community's interests to extend that consultation to the wider community, so people that are using the street quite often, that are walking into those businesses, that are just going for walks along that street. Because there is a consideration to, I guess, get it right the first time in terms of upgrading the footpaths, whether there's a single process or singular process of just improving the footpaths without touching the trees, or will that sort of have impact both financially and structurally down the track if these trees are not removed and replaced? I do feel that council wants to consider doing things properly, but in the end it will be the community that provides feedback on what they prefer. So I'm keen to see a clearer picture on what the community thinks about spending a lot more time and certainly a lot more money in removing and replacing the trees with better, I think it's tree pit systems, or whether they prefer to keep what's there and risk some disadvantage down the track with potential damage to new footpaths. So I'll be keen to hear.
Thank you, Councillor Paspaliaris. Any other councillors wish to speak? Councillor Taylor?
Thank you, Mayor Blaine. The CBD footpath renewal project is reviewing and renewing all deteriorated asphalt footpaths within the CBD, and Kepler Street has been identified as one area where the location of the trees should be reviewed due to their location directly within the footpath, which impacts on pedestrian safety and accessibility. While there are advantages and disadvantages of retaining or removing the trees, new trees placed in a tree pit system with a tree gate at the top would considerably assist pedestrian safety and reduce maintenance requirements on a flat, smooth footpath. Thank you, Mayor Blaine.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Any other councillors wish to speak? I'd just like to add as well that this is one that's totally up to the community, and I'm actually excited to see the engagement. I suppose the big question is, do you take away the canopy to protect the footpath, or do you protect the canopy and redo the footpath and hope it doesn't change? I think that's probably the big question there, and where it'll actually end up. It'll be very interesting to see in the consultation, because where we are at the moment, as Councillor Paspaliaris said, it was about 50-50, so it'll be interesting to see what the wider community values more. Councillor Jelly, do you have anything to close?
No, thank you.
With no further speakers, we'll put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Passed unanimously. Thank you. We'll just wait for Councillor Ziegler to come back. The motion was passed unanimously, Councillor Ziegler.
Thank you.
And we're moving on to item 7.8, the Community Development Fund 2023-24, page 36 in the agenda. Mr Mason.
Mayor, this report recommends that council approve allocation of funds to 19 community groups or clubs and organisations under our annual Community Development Fund program. This is a great program that provides some money for these groups to do some great projects. So the recommendation is before you.
Thank you, Mr Mason. Any questions? Have we got a mover? Councillor Paspaliaris.
I move that Council 1 approves the allocation of $58,383 to fund 19 community clubs and organisations under the Community Development Fund 23-24 program, and 2, requests that all applicants be advised of the outcome of the assessment process and, where applicable, council guidelines associated with the grant.
Thank you, Councillor Paspaliaris. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Jelly, Councillor Paspaliaris.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd just like to say that the vast majority of the 25 applications were successful. the applicants were required to submit an audited financial statement or current bank statement to help determine their need for assistance. And the applications were assessed by a panel of council officers that represent the three granting categories. I think the list displays such a great variety of clubs and groups and really a wide range of projects that this money will be used for. And I think that as much as council is responsible for service provision, assets and infrastructure and all the usual things, it's really pleasing to give sums of money to groups who can do great things within their local area of the community. And I think compared to council's operating budget, these are relatively small sums of money, but they do go a long way and they generally have a very important and compounding impact in the community. So it's great to see. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Paspaliaris. Councillor Jelly?
Yes, agree with Councillor Paspaliaris. There's a very good range of different projects that are going to be funded in culture and arts, environment and sustainability, and sport and recreation, and some very interesting different things that, whether it's for storage or transport for equipment, toy purchases for the toy library, cricket equipment, swimming development, different things for improving access and participation for members with physical disabilities, for the GEM Club. Just a lot of things that we as everyday people wouldn't think of, but these particular clubs have put in applications with great thought behind it. So congratulations to them all, and encourage all clubs and groups to apply every year for this because they're well worth doing.
Thank you, Councillor Jelly. Any other councillors wish to speak? Councillor Ziegler?
Yes, I'd just like to make comment, Mayor, that this community development fund and the grants that are associated with it, as Councillor Jelly's already said, there's a vast range of groups that have applied for these and have been successful, and it just indicates how vital these groups are in the community, how alive they are and active, the sort of things that they've asked for assistance with in terms of finance is very encouraging. I think it's fantastic that we've been able to support them this way, and I'm just thrilled to be able to see what they do with it.
Thank you, Councillor Ziegler. Any other councillors wish to speak? Councillor Taylor?
Thank you, Mayor Blaine. It was pleasing to see 25 applications submitted and 19 organisation applications totalling $58,383 were successfully funded once they met the Community Development Recommendation Fund criteria. Thank you, Mayor Blaine.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Any other councillors wish to speak? I'd just like to say a thank you to every single group that actually did put in a submission, and I'd encourage, there is funding left over again this year, and I'd encourage any group in Warrnambool who's looking for funding, have a look at the guidelines, and if you fit, please do apply. It's one of the ways that council does give back to so many of our groups and volunteers, and it's really great to see, and I'd love to see more of that money get allocated in future years. Councillor Paspaliaris, do you have anything to close?
No, thank you.
With no further speakers, we'll put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Passed unanimously. Thank you. Moving on to page 40, 7.9, the New Warrnambool Art Gallery Preliminary Business Case Final Report. Mr Mason.
Thank you, through Mayor. This report recommends that council receive the preliminary business case and do some community engagement on this important project. The business case finds that a regional art gallery can create livability but also economic development opportunities. The business case has also been got some what I would call preliminary or block design work, and this has been guided by some important principles about not encroaching on the civic green, and ensuring that car parking spaces are at least included within the design. And so the design work that has been done effectively tries to achieve those things. It's important to note that this isn't a commitment to doing the project or allocating funds. Obviously, that would require a significant contribution from other sources, particularly state and federal government funding. But I think it's an important opportunity for us to get some feedback from the community in relation to this, and it provides some really important information and assessment of what a future gallery might look like. So recommendation is before you.
Thank you, Mr Mason. Any questions? Do we have a mover? Councillor Ziegler?
Yes, Mayor, I'll move that the council receive the preliminary business case for a new Warrnambool Art Gallery at the existing location and share the findings with the community for feedback.
Thank you, Councillor Ziegler. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Paspaliaris. Councillor Ziegler, do you wish to speak?
I do. This is yet again a motion, tonight's agenda, which calls for community feedback. I've noticed in some of the antisocial media that there are people who don't want an art gallery and don't see a purpose of it, but I guarantee that some of those people will have pictures on the wall at their home and appreciate the look of a good garden or whatever. They appeal to aesthetics and the cultural richness of their own lives. So I see that while that happens, we have to acknowledge the fact that people have a very wide range of feelings about whether we do need an art gallery, what sort of an art gallery need. But for myself, I acknowledge the fact that we have a very, very rich and valuable store of art pieces in our own art gallery that needs to be looked after and managed because it is so vitally important to our community and to our history. It enriches the cultural aesthetic of our town, and we've got to look after it. We've been told that the current art gallery is not up to scratch and needs refurbishment, rebuilding or whatever, and this is one way to do it. We need to have feedback from everybody who has a view on the art gallery and its rebuilding possible.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Thank you, Councillor Ziegler. Councillor Paspaliaris?
Thank you, Mayor. I think, in my mind, fundamentally, that the existing site is appropriate for a new art gallery. It sits within the entertainment arts precinct of the city, and I think the site's central and accessible with regards to public transport, walking, cycling, road transport generally. A new art gallery would be fantastic. It obviously costs a lot as far as the, noted minimum $50 million spend. So as Mr Mason has mentioned, the majority would be coming from state and federal funding, which could be a long way away. However, that doesn't mean that Warrnambool and its community can't look at what's being presented here with this report and give us some feedback on what they, the community, would prefer, how things could be improved, preferences. I note that there is strategy 1 and strategy 2 suggested. And I think both of the strategies describe an intention for the maintenance but better utilisation of the civic green. And I feel that, in my mind, that's something that I feel excited about. I think that also the redevelopment would ideally have appropriate parking, both ground level and basement. So I think the new gallery would be a real iconic building. It could be a new landmark within Warrnambool. So there are lots of positives to take out of this report. I'd just like to hear what the community has to say about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Paspaliaris. Any other councillors wish to speak? Councillor Jelly?
Yes, thank you. I'd very much encourage all interested community members to give some constructive thoughts and feedback on this report. Now is the time to have your say, and it is an important project. Projects like this take years of planning, and as Councillor Paspaliaris said, and the CEO has indicated, funding for this will take some getting in the current climate, but this is what we've got to work to. You've got to have some plans ready to go and to approach and advocate for this sort of thing. Warrnambool has a great cultural and artistic community that, alongside our sporting community, deserves to have something to be very proud of. We've got a great exhibition over at the current gallery at the moment, which we absolutely hope, and I've got no doubt will bring people from far and wide to that. So that's a coup for our gallery staff in that area. So I think it's important for us to plan for the future. Please have a look at the concept plans. They are exciting. They're not going to impede on the current site. It will look perhaps a little bit different over there in the Civic Green, but it could open up to new opportunities. We've got an amazing library we opened a year ago. Why can't we have an amazing gallery that opens in, 5 or 6 years once funding's sought? So please have a look at the concepts and have your say when the opportunity is offered.
Thank you, Councillor Jelly. Any other councillor wish to speak? Councillor Taylor?
Thank you, Mayor Blaine. This report provides background to the project to develop a preliminary business case for a new art gallery on the existing site. A fifth feasibility study conducted in 2021 found that a new art gallery in Warrnambool could provide a major tourist and educational attraction and a stimulus for economic investment in the region. And this report found that the existing site can support a gallery that will meet the future needs of this city, and it will be beneficial to share the finding of this report with this community for feedback. Thank you, Mayor Blaine.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Any other councillors wish to speak? I'd just like to add with the business case for the art gallery. This is a really exciting opportunity for Warrnambool, because I think we have to shoot for the stars. We want to have a regional gallery in the region, and if we are going to have one, we want one here in Warrnambool. We've got an amazing art collection which needs somewhere to be able to be stored, to be able to be looked after. It's not something that is going to totally come out of ratepayers' pockets. It's something that's going to come out of the opportunities from the state government, the federal government, philanthropics. It's going to be a partnership with a range of different stakeholders, not just us. Looking at the designs that are there, there's some really amazing, striking designs. And have a look at what it is, especially with the Civic Green. If you actually have feedback, if you are happy with the paths, the meeting places out in the Civic Green, if you're not happy, please take the time to provide the feedback now. Don't wait until after the vote, because we really need to know what you think. And I think, if we can shoot for the stars, this will be something that not just Warrnambool will be, not just this generation Warrnambool will be proud of, but it'll be something that generations moving forward can be. So please, let us know your thoughts so that we can work together to make the best gallery we can. Councillor Ziegler, do you have anything to close?
Just quickly, Mayor, yes, certainly. I think that we have to be prepared for people to have differing views on what they think of the concept plans. Not everyone's going to like them, but be assured that our Civic Green will be enhanced. It won't be reduced, whatever plan that we've chosen. And be assured that we'll do the best we can with their comments. We need that feedback. We need something to help guide us get the best possible Warrnambool Art Gallery. As the Mayor's already alluded to, we need to shoot for the stars. We need to make this as good as we can for the region.
Thank you, councillor Ziegler. With no further speakers, we'll put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Passed unanimously. Thank you. Moving on to page 45, item 7.10, the Warrnambool Aquatic Strategy, the final report. Mr Mason.
Thank you. Through you, Mr Mayor, this is an important report. It's been triggered by a recognition that the existing aqua zone site is coming to the end of its life, both in terms of kind of ability to kind of cater to population growth, but also just in terms of the age of the infrastructure. There's been some really good work, including a field trip with councillors to look at other sites. Very broadly, the report or the strategy presented provides three options, which is a make good at the existing site, a redevelopment, a significant redevelopment at the existing site, or a new development on a greenfield site. And the recommendation is that we make this information and the strategy available to the community and encourage feedback and input. And again, this would be brought back to council before any decisions made.
Thank you, Mr Mason. Any questions? Do we have a mover? Councillor Taylor.
Thank you, Mayor Blaine. I'd like to move a motion that the council receive the Warrnambool Aquatic Strategy Report and commence community engagement on the findings as per the officer's recommendation be accepted. Thank you, Mayor Blaine.
Thank you, councillor Taylor. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Paspaliaris. Councillor Taylor.
Thank you, Mayor Blaine. This is the first step in an assessment of current condition of aquazone and the likely capital costs required to maintain the facility operation in the short to medium term, as well as potential development of a greenfield site. The primary objective of the aquatic strategy is to provide options of either renewing or redeveloping aquazone to cost approximately $59.7 million, or the development of a new centre at a greenfield site, which would cost approximately $80.5 million, and on top of that, $1.4 million for decommissioning aquazone. A funding strategy will need to be developed to raise the significant investment to deliver any of the options provided, and it'll be good to commence community engagement on the findings. Thank you, Mayor Blaine.
Thank you, councillor Taylor. Councillor Paspaliaris.
Thank you, Mayor. I think that in reading this report, the community and key stakeholders really ultimately have to determine whether there's a preference to keep the existing site or to move to a greenfield site. And then from there, I guess more feedback, will be required. Obviously, there are pros and cons to either option. Obviously, it's not for me to say at this stage, but the report will be progressed to consultation with key stakeholders, which I think is really important. So getting to the people that actually use and interact with the facility regularly, and then of course to the wider community. I think that it's important that the community understands that the current facility does require short-term investment, and obviously it is a high cost to keep the centre going. But I think that's also going to be required. Again, this is a major project that's going to take a lot of years to realise. It will need that, again, that state and federal funding. So there is going to be some, I guess, acknowledgement of the need to keep it sort of ticking along until such time that we get, another great new facility. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor Paspaliaris. Any other councillor Jelly?
Yes, another area that we really ask for community feedback, whether you use the current aquazone pool and gym and everything, the services provided there now. This is a project for the whole community. Health and wellbeing is important for us in our community. We are a regional city. we need to keep a close look as to what we need for the future. We did go on a field trip. Some of us went a couple of months ago and had a look at 3 different cities with pools, and some of them were just absolutely amazing. And if we could have a great facility here like that in the years to come, and again, it will take time. These are the first steps to working towards that. And again, please give us your opinion and let us know what you think. Some great concepts.
Thank you, councillor Jelly. Any other councillor wish to speak? Councillor Ziegler?
Yes. The old swimming pool has got elements of cultural legend that a lot of people are very fond of, and the Aquazone basically, I don't think, lived up to that particular legend. In fact, it was often called the inadequate zone by many because it didn't provide the same legendary romance of the old pool. We have an opportunity with some eye-wateringly high budgets that have been quoted to actually provide an aquatic facility that people will be proud of and will actually fall in love with, like they did with the old swimming pool. Having said that, it's very important for us to achieve that through the opinions and consultation we get from the community. We have to do it within budget, keeping in mind that the $80 million or whatever it's going to cost to build a new facility is only the start. We have to be able to maintain it, and that's the key. It's going to cost council and ratepayers money to maintain an aquatic facility that they're proud of.
Thank you, councillor Ziegler. Any other councillors wish to speak? I'd just like to add that this is a little bit like the art gallery, where we're looking at trying to upgrade a facility, not just now, but for into the future. We're moving, 2035, we should be moving towards 50,000 people. There is a greater rate base, but then you look at some of the amazing projects that we've actually had happen already, like the library. There was an increase in running costs there, but I've got full confidence that as a council, we would be able to continue to run and manage that facility. Like the library, you look at the outcomes that it's had for our community, you look at what the aquatic strategy could have for the health, well-being, for not just Warrnambool, but the surrounding regions. We're one of the few public pools in the region that is an indoor facility as well, that services so many people in so many different ways. And looking at this report, one of the really interesting things that did come out was the need for a warm water pool here in Warrnambool, especially with our ageing population. It's actually really exciting to see. And with the 3 different options, thinking as we move towards 50,000 people, are making good or improvements to the existing facility, is that really the best move? Is a redevelopment, or do we move to a greenfield site? That is the big question, I suppose. What does Warrnambool actually want? And to be honest, the idea would be, especially with spending this kind of money, this would be a facility for this generation and future generations as well, to be able to service the continuing expansion of our city and the continual need as our population increases. Councillor Taylor, do you have anything to close?
Yes, Mayor Blaine. Councillor Ziegler mentioned a very good point of maintaining the Aquazone, and I believe maintaining the Aquazone in its current site would be very expensive over the initial years, and the cost of maintaining a new greenfield site would be far less than maintaining the current site. So, thank you, Mayor Blaine.
Thank you, councillor Taylor. With no further speakers, we'll put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Passed unanimously. Thank you. We'll move on to 7.11, public art donation, page 49. Mr Mason.
Through you, Mayor, this is a good report to acknowledge and report on a generous donation by the Fletcher Jones Foundation for some public art, I guess particularly for children, which has been located at the new Warrnambool Library. So it's the report's before your recommendation that you acknowledge the donation.
Thank you, Mr Mason. Any questions? Can we have a mover? Councillor Jelly.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to move the motion that the council acknowledge the generosity of the Fletcher Jones Foundation gift of public art by Heather B. Swan to the Warrnambool Library and Learning Centre Children's Garden.
Thank you, Councillor Jelly. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Paspaliaris. Councillor Jelly.
Thank you. This is a very pertinent acknowledgement to the generosity of the Fletcher Jones Foundation, who are a wonderful foundation in many areas and have been very generous to not only Warrnambool but our region. This is a special sculpture for the Children's Garden. It was an allocation of $20,000 for the foundation made in 2021, which was in addition to the Fletcher Jones Foundation contributing towards the build of the Library and Learning Centre initially. So this was a lovely gesture for them to come back with this. The foundation's members are acknowledging their mother in this, who Isabel Jones was a special lady in our community, and the chosen artist, Heather B. Swan, is from Tasmania, and also had a connection and affection for Isabel Jones. So I think this was a great choice of the foundation to bring artist Swan into doing this. I think everyone needs to go and have a look at it over in the Children's Garden. It's beautiful, it's heartwarming, and I think this is a special generous gift in memory of a great and well-respected lady in our community.
Thank you, Councillor Jelly. Councillor Paspaliaris.
Thank you, Mayor. I too would like to say thank you to Fletcher Jones Foundation for their generous donation, and to Heather B. Swan, who has constructed this piece of art. I think it's a wonderful compliment to the Library and Learning Centre, specifically the Children's Garden. It's something that is likely to be very interesting for children. It's playful. I think anything that creates a sense of engagement and interest is very much appreciated, especially in that area of the Library and Learning Centre. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Paspaliaris. Any other councillor wish to speak? Councillor Ziegler.
Yes, Mayor. I'd like to make 2 points. First point is to acknowledge that Fletcher Jones continues to contribute to our community even posthumously. I think that's just a wonderful tribute to his ongoing contribution to our town. And secondly, that this is an example of the art that we were talking about earlier. In this case, they're sculptures, but they're functional sculptures. They're used by the children. They can be sat on and used in that children's garden. I think it's a wonderful installation, and I need to thank the Fletcher Jones Foundation for their contribution.
Thank you, Councillor Ziegler. Any other councillor wish to speak? I think everyone's right. I think it's amazing to see the legacy of Fletcher Jones still having an impact on our city. And I think this piece of art, especially for the Library and Learning Hub in the Children's Garden, to actually be interactive is actually really special. And a really big thank you to the Fletcher Jones Foundation for their generous donation. It's really amazing. Councillor Jelly, do you have anything to close?
Yes, look, we all think the same thing, and we are very grateful for this. And the Fletcher Jones Foundation do so many things and don't stand there for a pat on the back for it. They do it very quietly. They choose appropriate things which fits in with their beliefs, and I just think that they are a wonderful foundation and thank them for everything they do for our community and will continue to do.
Thank you, councillor Jelly. With no further speakers, we'll put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Passed unanimously. We'll move on to page 52, item 7.12, the informal meetings of council reports. Mr Mason.
Just a procedural item that reports on the three informal meetings and recommends that you receive these.
Thank you, Mr Mason. Any questions? Do we have a mover? Councillor Taylor.
Thank you, Mayor Blaine. I'd like to move a motion to the record of the informal meetings of council held on the 13th, 20th and 27th of November 2023 be received as per the officer's recommendation.
Thank you,
Mayor Blaine.
councillor Taylor. A seconder? Councillor Jelly, do you have anything to say?
No, thank you,
Councillor
Mayor
Taylor?
Blaine.
No. With no speakers, we'll put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Passed unanimously. Moving on to 7.13, the Mayor and Chief Executive Officer Activity Summary Report, page 53. Mr Mason.
Again, another procedural item, Mayor, that recommends that that our activities report be received.
Thank you. Any questions? Can we have a mover? Councillor Jelly.
Yes, that we accept the mayoral and chief executive officer activities for this last month.
Thank you, councillor Jelly. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Ziegler. Councillor Jelly, do you have anything?
Just saying there's been a lot going on in the month, as you can, when you read it, for everyone. The CEO and the mayor and councillors all putting in to do different things over time, so it's really good. It's a busy time.
Thank you, councillor Jelly. Councillor Ziegler. Any other councillors? I'd just like to add a thank you to everyone. You know, you're only one person as a mayor, and it's really great to see that everyone's sort of working and sharing the load. It's been really good. Do you wish to close, councillor Jelly?
No, all good, thank you.
Very good. With no further speakers, we'll put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Passed unanimously. Moving on to section 8, notices of motion. Mr Mason.
I've received no notices of motion.
Number 9, general business. Does anyone have any items of general business they'd like to raise this evening? No. Moving on to item 10, urgent business. Is there any urgent business, Mr Mason?
None received, Mayor.
Can we get a mover to suspend standing orders to go into the closed section of the meeting? Can we have a mover? Councillor Paspaliaris. Can we have a seconder? Councillor Jelly. All those in favour? Passed unanimously. I'd like to thank everyone for coming tonight, and we'll see you in February. No, thank you.